All right, this is recording 835. It is Listen Next. The name of this podcast, specific podcast, is Listen Next 835. It's a part of my podcast series, Speaking to the CIA. You can find me at speakingtothecia.com, or you can find me at christinastation918.com. You can find me on YouTube, Christina Station 918. You can find me on Spotify as Scorpio. My ID on there is Scorpio71. You can find me on Twitter, Christina MS918. Okay, so this recording, I'm going to report recent. This was overwhelming. This is going to be about news, current terror attacks that Gene has committed. When I went to go look these up for the week, it had been a couple of weeks since I have reported current terror attacks that she has committed, and I was overwhelmed at the amount of crime. Like, I got so overwhelmed I had to put my phone down. So it's total insanity. But anyway, so it makes me sad. I'm sorry she's controlling my speech. You see what she said, what she's doing there? She controlled my speech to say it's total insanity. For those of you guys don't know, there's a woman that used to be really popular in the 80s, and she came out with like a workout thing or a diet drink. I don't know what she sold, really. Her name was Susan Powder. And her theme was Stop the Insanity, and she was like a really big infomercial hit. So Gene is controlling my speech to go, it's just insane, is what she's doing. Again, Navy captain, you need to be arrested. You think you're getting away with this, and you're not. And you push blame all the way around. The CIA has my entire podcast. I've explained and proven, and they probably follow all of you guys everywhere. All your little gimmicks and all your little pass the blame and da-da-da-da. And then like all my books where I'm like, this is her schematic. This is what she does. This is what she does. You're going to go to jail, Gene Roberts. Anyway, so the first one is, in Hungary, gunshots ring out and knives drawn as blood stains Budapest street. Several taken to the hospital. Okay, so I know you already know that she committed this crime just simply by the street that she used, Budapest. But what I also want to point out that she used here is she's decoding this out. She is making a reference to Bullfrog, okay? And Bullfrog is the marina at Lake Powell. It's a big part of my childhood memories. All of Lake Powell is a part of my childhood memories, okay? Also, Bullfrog goes to, also inside this is, okay, so I kept decoding, and then I remembered the Riveton. I was thinking of I decoded pivot in here. So all I keep thinking about is not pivot, rivets. She probably did pivot too. But anyway, let me continue here. I keep thinking about these little like rubber bullet things on this construction erector set that I used to play with at my grandma's house when I was little. And she's using it. She's got this game inside here, okay? And she's put this in my brain several times before, how she's used this game. And so I'm like, I can't even remember this name of this game, but I'm going to turn you in, Gene. You've stalked me and my family since before I was born. You're committing terrorism using my family, using me, using celebrities, using everyone, and everything is like, you use everything from my life and you run around committing terrorism and you pretend to be me committing it. And you also pretend to be me blaming the cartel. And then you blame everything on the cartel or whoever else is just handy for you to grab. Here, they did it. No, you did it, Gene. Anyway, so Riviton is in this, so be looking out for Riviton. Riviton. So this, I went to go read about Riviton, okay, and this is important, this is significant. You're probably going to find a lot more in there that could lead you to a lot more. Okay, so however, Riviton had a famously short shelf life. In 1978, the kit was completely recalled after multiple young children tragically choked to death on the rubber rivets. I didn't even know that. So you're going to want to open an investigation on those deaths. Because she keeps bringing it up in my brain. Which means she might have caused she's trying to control my suit. You might have caused them. You just told on yourself. So you're going to want to open up a case on those deaths of those children that died. Okay, Parker Brothers, and you're going to want to do the math, obviously, on 1978. Parker Brothers, and it's also Parker Brothers, see all code Parker Brothers. And PB, and then 1977 advertised as the toy that makes toys. So you see what she's doing there, running her racket. Okay. Also, I want to point out, so the rivet, so then you get that rivets and then rivet, and then rivet, also Revelations. She's also using Revelations, which I'm about to get to. So Revelations is inside Riviton. So then this also goes to the plagues in Revelations. And she plans the plagues that I went over the 10 plagues, trying to decode them, comparing to the terrorism that I know that she is storing and holding on to, and that she is emitting, and that she is planning to emit, and trying to decode and seeing what is in there. And then also, and this is in Revelations, I'm not talking about in Moses and the parting of the sea. I'm talking about in Revelations. So I was able to decode some of those plagues. So I do know she plans a godlike plague release. Like she wants to do Revelations. And this is real terrorism. This is not play game stuff. This is real terrorism. Unless she and her Manson occult are arrested, this is really going to happen unless it's stopped. And if they're not able to stop her now, then you can't assume that any of this has been stopped either. Which I know you guys know that. But anyway, I'm giving a summary of it right now because I've already got it in my podcast. Some of it I've got on Pinterest. A lot of it I have in my decode books. Some are at Tulsa Police Headquarters. Some are with me. So, I mean, you are already well aware. And at this point, I'm sure you're well aware. So, the frogs, stand for, I got this backwards. Let me go back to, she not put this in my brain. I really saw this. I really literally saw this. I saw a half a frog. This is when I was in Dallas. I saw a half a frog, and it was really teeny tiny, like the size of a pencil eraser. And it was pushing up through the ribbing of the carpet in a hotel. Okay? And I don't know how it just managed to form and go up and go back down. Okay? And then this was at the time when I was seeing all the snake venom of all the different colors, the green and the white and the pink. And it was during that major snake run. And then behind the frog, two little flowers came up out of the carpet. Okay, so they were like two little, and I was sitting there staring at it and shocked. It was a little blue flower and it was a little yellow flower. Okay, so those came up out of the carpet, and I was literally like freaking out. There were snakes everywhere. So anyway, I was talking to somebody in my brain and mental telepathy, and I'm like, they're like, that's not alive. And I'm like, how can a frog not be alive? Like, in my brain, I'm like, because it's a frog, but it's a half of a frog. And I'm like, how can it not be alive? And they're like, that's a bacteria. That's not alive, is what they said. And they told me what it was, but I kept reversing it with the flowers in my brain. So the flowers represented leprosy, and they represented several other diseases with really long names that I can't even remember the names of. I mean, you'd have to go into my memory bank and pull out the names of these diseases. But they went to go research to go find out what they were. Those were bacterias that were growing, and they weren't alive. Then someone put in my brain while I was asleep, this frog that I saw was like the size of an eraser. Somebody put in my brain while I was asleep a microscope. Under a microscope, there is a bacteria that looks like a frog, and it's under microscopic glass. Like, it's so tiny. It's microscopic, and it literally looks like a frog. Like, I could see it in my brain. They showed me an image of it. And I'm like, okay, they're like, this goes to you at Willis Junior High in biology, in your biology class, when you had to dissect the frog. See, my class dissections were very important. It all means something. And I dissected a frog. I dissected later in 6th grade. I dissected, or the frog came later. First, I dissected the heart and the lung at Pomeroy. Oh my God, that's not even true either. You are effing evil. Anyway, I dissected a heart and a lung at Pomeroy in 6th grade. And then, no, not a lung, I'm sorry, an eyeball, a heart and an eyeball. Ugh. And the eyeball was rolling all over the cake pan. It was so freaking gross. It was so... Anyway, and then later on, I think it was in 7th grade, I dissected the frog. Okay, so they were like, this goes to the frog, and then this also goes to... Because all of my life is all connected. I go through my whole life, and I realize that Jean pre-planned to commit all these terror attacks, and it's the end of time, and she did the World Trade Center attack, and it's not just, you know, super cash, quote, end times. No, this is the end of time. We're in the end of Revelations. Like, I decoded her massive terror plots all the way back in the Holy Bible, and it's been going on all throughout history, and we are at the end. So anyway, so I pay attention literally to everything. So anyway, so then they said that the frog was... No, they were saying that other bacteria that she dropped was brown cichlia, this stuff that she put in my brain that was in the big 5-gallon tubs. Was like it was like big gigantic 5-gallon tubs, and it was a spray liquid, and it's brown cichlia, and they said this was enough to kill the entire planet. So, and I said, has it already been dispersed? And they said it's already all over the world. So, and they're hoarding it. It's hoarded underground, Abajo. And then she forces people into slave labor underground and forces them to work with all of these deadly diseases and bacteria. And you're going to see all my podcasts on that with everything I've seen in my brain and all of my reports on all of that. So like the guy that I saw who died from leprosy, and then the other one, I call it honeycomb. I don't know a name to call it. I call it honeycomb because it's that sand stuff that she drops everywhere. That's the compounding poison that's going to end up causing disabilities and all kinds of nasty stuff in our bodies, the human race all over the planet over the next 30 to 50 years. It's dumped everywhere. And leprosy, like I told you, they planted, Gene Roberts and Hermansen, Nicole, I was told this, they planted leprosy in the soil and they've been waiting for it to turn up, like come up. So I don't know how far down it is, but there's diseases planted everywhere. So these are plagues. These are terrorist plagues that she has planned outbreaks. Now, what I think and what I thought was going to happen, which I think is going to still happen if she isn't arrested, if Hermansen Occult isn't arrested, this sand stuff, I call it honeycomb, because it's like, it takes on the shape of anything. And in chunks, it looks like cardboard, like in chunks, but it breaks into like real fine molecules. Some of this stuff that she was dumping, some of the AI bioterrorism she was dumping, I could see people mixing it in glasses, making mixtures of it. And some of it were, like I told you, were little teeny tiny black balls. They look like little teeny tiny peppercorns, like probably even smaller than a peppercorn. Really teeny tiny black balls and really teeny tiny white balls. I don't know what they are, but there's some kind of diseases that she drops. So the brown cicala is probably what she puts in the sinks, because I call those the tiny ones that she drops at the bottom water treatment, bottom water treatment, where they're coiled up in bread ties. I can see her literally doing this in my brain. I call those brown cicala snakes because that's what they emit into the water. And I tried to look up to see if there's a thing called brown cicala, and I got the closest I could get to anything was locating something at California University. But I don't know if what I found was legitimate or not. I don't know if that's a nickname that somebody's calling it or if that's legitimately the name of the brown cicala. But anyway, so the honeycomb I believe is got to be the same stuff that is used. I could see it. It's crazy. That stuff is insane. And I know that it's explosive because they told me that it was explosive. It's like that stuff that it's like, those snaps, and her whole Mad Plot theme. The snaps that you buy at the 4th of July. They come in the little white things, and they twist, and they sit in like the I don't know, like, what do they call, like, it's in wood shavings or whatever. Okay, it's like the wood shavings, but it's like almost at a molecular level. But they're like, so I was vaping, and she had that stuff just draining, like she was fuming it up from under the ground. She was dropping it from the sky. Okay, it was freaking everywhere. She said in my brain, she tried to blame the Middle East. And I'm not going to go over all this again, but she tried to blame the Middle East. The Middle East did not do it. Then later on, she specifically tried to blame Bashar al-Assad. They did not do that. That was Gene Roberts and Hermansen Occult, and it was them trying to control. They hijacked American soldiers, and they also hijacked Pakistani soldiers, and this was over in Pakistan. Either it was in Pakistan or in Afghanistan. I think it was in Pakistan. Remember I told you how she took the troops that were assigned to General Schwarzkopf, and they're supposed to be all his Army Corps of Engineer troops over there, and she stole the troops from him, and then she cut him off of everything. She severely wounded him. This is after his wound upon entry into his new role, as well after she wounded him. And then he was out of it. I still don't know if he is okay or not. I don't know. But anyway, you have to go through all my pockets. And I know you showed him to me in my brain, him being pulled from a car, and he was limping, and he looked like he had both of his legs. But I don't know that image, if that image is being shown to me that he's being rescued and Jean is doing that, pulling my leg, quote unquote, thinking she's funny, and that's something older, or if that's when he was being kidnapped and she's making me think he's been rescued. Because she shot off one of his legs. And anyway, so there's a whole big thing to this. So I'm not going to go through all the schematics on this. You have to go through all of my podcasts. So I know you guys already know all this. But anyway, so the AI bioterrorism. So it's like a lot like the crop circles that they make, and it's like the big mystery. I swear to God, that's got to be the same stuff. I swear to God. And then people are like, well, if that's the same stuff and it's making the crop circles, then how can it hurt you? Well, it can hurt anybody. It kills people. Jean told me in my brain, she said, I have killed kings with this, is what she told me in my brain when I was in Oklahoma City. That is her exact words, Jean Roberts. So if you douse enough of it, you can kill someone. And I imagine if you douse over time, you can kill a whole lot of people. And I believe, as I was told from prior conversations in my brain and mental telepathy, that Christopher Columbus brought it over into America. Like, his thing, when I decoded Columbus, he was very interested in, and that's one of the reasons he wanted the United States so bad. He wanted to be wild and free. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. Okay, and he was very much into the stars. He was very much into medicine, and he was very much into chemistry. Okay, he was all about all of that. I decoded all of that. Like, he wanted to be able to go where he could alchemy and his people could alchemy and do whatever they wanted, and no one would stop them, and have people not only above ground held in slavery and in bondage, but people also below ground held in slavery and in bondage. To go over it all again, like, it killed, like, I'm summarizing here. You have to go through my whole podcast. It kills me. And people have helped me, like, work through. People have helped me, like, they've helped me work through, they've helped me work through my pain, and you know what I mean? So I can progress forward and get Jean turned in. But it's horrific. It's horrific. So anyway, I believe that he brought it over with a bunch of other stuff, and that he's been manufacturing this. Now, when I was in Oklahoma City, that stuff was like everywhere. So when I vape, people would be in my brain and they were going, Christina said, somebody said that this is explosive. And then somebody would go, it's not explosive. And then military would come on and they would say, it's explosive. It's used to, like, cut things open. if they line enough of it up, like dynamite powder, if they line enough of it up an area, like they can explode through stuff. It's explosive. And then somebody said it's not explosive, and the next thing you know, I vaped, and all of a sudden, because it's in everything. I mean, people are eating it, wearing it, sleeping it, breathing it, smoking it. It's all over the world. It's everywhere. Anyway, they did something to ignite it in my vape, and it went pop, and I'm like, it's explosive. That shit is explosive. So, and that was also when I was finding out that the snakes that she's also breeding underground, some of them have bombs in them. So when I told you they've got like pockets in them, like they hold things. These are not your everyday snakes. Like they put stuff in them. And I know you guys know that because you guys have my podcast on all the details of that. Okay, so anyway, so this is like really, it's bad stuff. So what I believe is that stuff is supposed to lead to her overlapping and releasing the poisons that cause leprosy, that one thing is supposed to lead to another. And you can probably pretty much tell that by everything, all of my decode and going through everything everywhere. Everything connects to everything. So, like what I'm saying, like this, like even it's in the music, like you could even like in the fix, one thing leads to another. Like you could even go in there and see if there's anything about diseases in there. I haven't gone to decode that song, but I mean, you could probably see this everywhere. You know what I mean? So, which I know you guys probably know that by now. So, that stuff is computerized, okay? It's magnetic. And like I told you, I was obsessed. This is crazy. I was obsessed with magnets when I was little. And I told you guys that. I would sit in the yard for hours, and I would sit there with the magnet, and I would pull. I was like a little freaking miner. I would sit there and for hours digging holes in the dirt in the backyard and pulling ore out of the ground with magnets and collecting it in little plastic bags like I was collecting bags of gold. I did it all the time. Used to drive my mom crazy. There were holes in the backyard everywhere. And then I would always dig to go to China. So anyway, I decode my backyard, and this is all significant too. All this means something. But anyway, I'm not going to go into every other podcast I have right now. But what I'm saying is, so then my younger son, he's just like me. He freaking loves magnets. He's obsessed with them, just like I was. And I was also, like I told you, I was also obsessed with mercury. So, anyway, so it's some kind of electrical magnetic something with the wand. And you know those toys that came out in the 70s with the face? It was a cardboard paper, and then there was a face on the paper, and it was like Mr. Beard or something, like a Blackbeard or something, and it would have that ore in it, and it would have that little like red wand, or that with the little magnetic tip on the end, and you would take the wand and you would drag it over the guy's face, and then you could grow a beard on the guy and hair on the guy. So that's like a comparable, okay? So the toy is invented on purpose. So then I look back in time and go, oh my God, this leaks to future diseases and future plagues. So anyway, so I could see literal designs, like it moving into like snowflake style designs. And I saw a snake emit snake fumes in Dallas. I called it a snowflake snake. It was the only kind of snake that did that. when it blew the fumes out, it would show up as like a mist on the floor, and it would show up in like a snowflake pattern design, and it would spray the floor like zzz, left and then zzz, right and then zzz, left and then zzz, right. Like it would just go back. It would just go back and forth, like, and I could see the whole floor like in this fine like snowflake like pattern mist. Anyway, I saw this again when I was at my son's first apartment, and I was like, nothing's going to happen here because I'm with my son, au contraire. These snakes are everywhere, and these people are stalking the ever freaking heck out of us. But I saw the snowflake snake do those patterns one more time on his ceiling. And somebody told me, look up, Christina. And then there's like a whole pattern showing up on the ceiling of this snowflake pattern. So I knew there was a snake up there. That was in the first apartment they were in. And I knew there was a major snake pit underground across from the apartment. Like, there was the empty lot, and then way up to the right, I knew people were showing that's where they were thinking the snakes were coming from underground. But anyway, their snakes are everywhere. They're all over the United States. They're all over the world. They're everywhere. So, anyway, so they make these crazy patterns, just like the crop circles or whatever. But the crop circles, it looks like the same kind of computerization pattern. But if the crop circle is made of that same stuff, then that tells you that there's a lot of that stuff out there. If that's the same stuff, if that's not the same stuff and it's two different things, I don't know what's going on with crop circles. I'm not really that concerned about the crop circles unless it's the same stuff. But anyway, so then it also goes to when I was little, when we were at Lake Powell, and I saw all those little tiny baby frogs, and I tried to catch them all, and I put them in a pail, and I was catching every single frog that I could. That was a sign to me. I looked back in time, and I decoded all that. I'm supposed to look back in time at me trying to catch all those frogs and putting them in the pail and trying to save them. Okay, I was like, all these frogs is going me like trying to warn people in the future that Jean is a terrorist and she's about to emit plagues on the planet, and I'm desperately trying to stop it by trying to contain everything. So, but it's me making sure that people know that Jean is a terrorist. That's how she used ice on me when I was little. So then I got all these frogs in the bucket. I was in the water and hauled this big paint bucket over to the back of my grandma's boat. And then I put the paint bucket on the back of my grandma's boat. And then the evening went on. And then the next day, my grandma was screaming and yelling. She was screaming and freaking out because there were little baby frogs, like hundreds of them, all over the boat. They had gotten out of the pail and they were all over the boat. They were everywhere. There were frogs everywhere. And my mom was like, you left the frogs on Grandma's boat, and Grandma's mad. There's frogs all over the boat. There's frogs everywhere. And I kind of got not in too bad of trouble, but I kind of got in trouble. And I was like, oh my God. But I was more like, there's frogs everywhere. But I'm like, oh my God, same, like I didn't want to be in trouble, but I thought it was funny because there's frogs like all over the place. So this is all signs of the future. Okay, so this also goes to the plagues. Okay, so anyway, so all of that goes to this terror attack in Hungary. And you can tell by the name of the nation, Jean definitely committed this crime because that's Jean's thing. Okay? She is attacking nations all over the world. the entire world is pissed at the United States of America. Gene Roberts and her Manson occult needs to be arrested immediately. So the next one is Romania, Russian drone strikes Galati apartment building. So there she's using, I've already gone over this with you, but you probably already see it, Galatians, the Bible, Galilee, Honolulu. Then she's using Kathy Lee Hoda and Christine Amanpour as a theme again. And then she's using Puff the Magic Dragon. Switzerland, 3 injured in stabbing attack at Swiss train station in Winterthur. So, one of her things, she likes to think she's Swiss Miss. So she's using, this is a revenge attack, this one. She's using Winthorpe, she's using Brewster's Millions, and she's doing the revenge attack because I call her Cersei in my brain. Or on here. I get so pissed at her. Nobody's arresting her. Someone's just supposed to just let her attack me and nobody arrest her? No. You need to arrest Gene. So, I'm like, no, because my brain and body is receiving brutal attack every second of the day, heavily, to violently at different times throughout the day, every night over the past 10 years. It is very bad. She attacks the shit out of me. And that's me still able to function, having a job, functioning here at Oxford, and having a podcast, and getting her turned in, and with her crew of brainless freaking gang stalkers that just think this shit is just cute and funny as hell to fucking help some freaking terrorist get away with doing not only 9/11 Oklahoma City bombing and running child trafficking rings, but to pat themselves on the back and congratulate themselves to death and thank everyone and say F you to everyone. Do you know how aggravating and how emotional it's so... Planet Earth, please do not get mad at me for calling Gene Roberts names, but I know you don't because I know you cursed her too. I've heard the military in my brain several times. Everybody always goes, "It's the goddamn Navy captain!" And they're serious. They're pissed. I've seen people so pissed off, even like and it's rarely that I see anything in the media. She has strong control of the media, but sometimes every once in a while some people will get something in, and I've seen where people like cops and stuff will be like, will light up a cigarette. They're so mad. We know smoking is not good for us. We're pissed. So please, I'm not saying please anything. That's somebody talking through me. As you know, they're into that S&M thing. They're Satanists. What I want to say is thank you for the graciousness of accepting this situation that I am in, that I cannot provide the best that I want to be because I'm under attack. The only way to get it to stop is to demand Gene's arrest. And I'm alive, and I'm breathing, and I have a voice, and I know what's going on. So I'm going to use that to keep my children safe, to try to save lives everywhere until Jean is arrested, and that is by making continual reports. So another thing she was getting revenge on was Broke Down Dolores Claiborne is also in this. Broke Down Palace. So she brought on a new, you know how I told you I got to meet a mental telepathy, either the writer or the creator of Game of Thrones. Okay, so I've talked to him a couple of times. He's not a person of a lot of words. He's probably like everybody else out there, just paying attention to everything to everything that's going on, and everybody's doing what they can where they can. But anyway, when I lived in Dallas, I said, they're getting ready to come on. I can feel them in my brain. I can feel all of Gene Roberts' people. And I was like, I need a name for them. And somebody was calling them White Walkers because that's what they act like, White Walkers. And I was like, I don't want to use White Walkers because I love Game of Thrones. She rips up everything. She rips up everybody's everything, everywhere, all TV, Hollywood, music, like memories, like everything. She rips up everything. I'm like, I don't want Game of Thrones destroyed. I love Game of Thrones. And so I'm like, I'm not calling her. I don't. So they're like, we know someone. And then they came, it was before I got to actually talk to them. They're like, we know someone. And then they came back and they're like, from the creator of Game of Thrones, Gene's people are now known as the Onslaught. And I was like, that is a good word. That's perfect. And so that's basically what's happening still to this day. So she brought in a new group of Onslaught and fed them a bunch of lies. I turned her in for committing crimes against the actresses of Broke Down Palace and also committing the actual crimes that the movie is based on. All of it. Okay, the whole thing needs to be reinvestigated. Gene Roberts did that with her Manson occult. She went and told a bunch of lies and decided to re-racket it with her Onslaught. And so then she executed this terror attack using that as a revenge theme in this stabbing. So that's what happened there. North Sea, South Africa confirms 2 deaths from respiratory infection aboard Atlantic cruise ship. So this connects to, this is my notes here, MV Honda, Cape Verde. She's making a reference to Camp Verde. Camp Verde is where my family is from on my mom's side in Arizona, when they first migrated into Arizona is Camp Verde. It's up north of Phoenix. So they're using Cape Verde as Camp Verde. And then, Verde means green in Spanish. And so then they're using Gain laundry soap. So Gain is in that. So then they're making a reference to Sanguine because Gene is trying to act like the people that I don't know where they went, but they were trying to keep Gene from trafficking anything or getting away with anything, and they would never provide her any information, and she's acted like she's taken over their position, and she's got a bunch of new Onslaught, and they're just like committing freaking terrorism everywhere and just acting like they're idiots. They're deadly stupid idiots. But anyway, she was like throwing a fit that she wanted to know about Sanguine, and she was trying to act like people that she wasn't. And people got mad in my brain, and they're like, Sanguine. She's talking about Sanguine. She doesn't want to talk about Sanguine right now. She's trying to, I was at work, and they're like, she's trying to work. Sanguine is under Gainesville, Texas. So that's all connected here. So then India, dozens injured in group clash. Just continue. I'm not even paying attention to Jean and Onslaught. India, dozens injured in group clash during Mahabharat play in Ganjam, 10 arrested. So this is another revenge attack. She's using Jan Hammer, Miami Vice theme. I use that song to make fun of Jean Roberts because she likes to tell everybody that she's a cop and she's FBI. So she committed a revenge attack based on using that song. And Trump likes to use that song to make fun of Jean Jernigan Roberts, the goddamn Navy captain. Which, like, makes me feel better because I'm like, I'm glad I know you guys are out there and you know what's going on, because I'm like, this is, like, insane. These people have got to be arrested. Jean Roberts has to be arrested. So, also, she's using Odisha, and so Odisha, I think that's a location there. She's using my grandma Stacia as a theme. Now she just controlled my speech just now, trying to pose as if I'm speaking to Cleanne or about Cleanne. Cleanne is my mom, my MOM, my actual mom. JENROBRTS is not my mom. She likes to pose as my mom and my sister. So her and her, her people, they're disgusting. Anyway, so she's using my grandma Stacia. Okay, my grandma Stacia loves dishes. And she loves to terrorize using elderly, and she loves to terrorize me using my grandmother. She also uses my boy's grandmother. United States, 2 men injured in West Philly shootout, police say. Okay, so in this butterfly knife, and this is something new that I learned with butterfly knife, she's using the butterfly knife as a theme in here. Okay, so if you look up butterfly knife, here's more new information that is probably inside Everything Everywhere. The name Bala song is derived from Barangay Village Bali song, and so Bali, she committed the Bali bombing. You remember that, Bali, I decoded it. Okay, so this also goes to Bali. Okay, part of the municipality of Tao Batangas. Okay, so she's also making a reference here to my ex-husband, Ben. So she's doing this, she loves to use them as a theme too. So traditional, it just shows that she's stalking Ben, which means she's probably used that everywhere. She's also using, what's his name? Sheldon Cooper, Bazinga. Okay, traditional Bali song is also known as Veinte y Nueve, or 29 in the Philippines, because they're 29 centimeters long when open. So again, she's trying to frame the military. 29 Palms is a United States Marine Corps base in California. South Korea, 2 injured in stabbing at LG office building in Seoul. So she's using their name. LG stands for Life's Good, and it used to be Gold Star. So what she's doing there is she's making a reference to Wounded Knee, and she's making a reference to the American Indian movement. So she's claiming to be the American Indian movement, and she might be doing that with somebody's pointing this out to me right now, with South Korea's name, because she's using SK, Psych. Now, Ion Psyche, IONSIKE, is the name of an Abajo that's underneath Mexico that Jean Jernigan Roberts also runs. She runs all Abajos. They're independently run, but she runs them all. Okay, so, I'm not just saying she runs them all, she really does run them all. So it's underneath like 100 miles from Acapulco, 100 miles west from Acapulco. Okay, so what she's saying there, she's probably being cute, and she's saying psych, like you're gonna see. Okay, so Jean is probably planning something and probably saying that it's American Indian movement. She's trying to suppress the American Indian movement because she keeps trying to get away with running her game, which you guys all know what that is. All of you can see on my podcast. And trying to get away with running her child, because that's her moneymaker, her child trafficking ring. And she's trying to gamify it so she can make money so she can commit terrorism, which leads to more and more and more terrorism. So nobody can have any real movements because all that matters is that Jean wants to get away with committing crime. She's Ku Klux Klan. She's white. She's fabulous. If you don't do what she says, I mean, it's getting old. Jean needs to be arrested. So another thing I noticed was Cuba water shortages worsen across Cuba as oil supplies dwindle. Okay, this connects to Seguin, okay, which connects this crime in Cuba, the water shortage. So Jean Jernigan Roberts caused the water shortage. I charge Jean Jernigan Roberts herself with all of these crimes. She is behind every single one of these with the Seguin up here at Philly. So the Philly is connected to the Cuba. Oh, and then also that too. Cube steak and then Philly steak is what she did. So there's a lot more crimes that she's committed, but I'm already at an hour in. There's a lot more crimes, but I've got more podcasts to make. When I see more crimes, I will report more crimes. I always report crimes, but I'm saying present day crimes.